Could you start a meal plan company with just $500? And if so, what's customer service going to look like? Well, I'll tell you how I would do it starting tomorrow with just $500 and the knowledge I've got in my head from growing Fit Food Fresh from absolutely zero to Florida's highest rated meal plan company. And that's something that we're very proud of. My business partner and I started this with nothing. No experience, no funding. We weren't personal trainers. We weren't nutritionists. We weren't chefs. But despite all of that, we knew what we wanted, and we ended up bringing it to fruition in a way that resonated with enough people to make us a success. Now, if you'd like to know how we did that from the outside, maybe it's something that you're looking to do, I invite you to subscribe and hit the alerts, because I love sharing our scars and our experiences and the lessons that we've learned that are applicable not only especially to starting a meal plan company like Fit Food Fresh, but I think you'll find very similar to a lot of businesses, because we encounter so many different challenges that a lot of other businesses are going to face. We've got the social media aspect, the e-commerce aspect, logistics aspect. We have production, food production especially. So we have a lot of different type of business characteristics and challenges that we're fortunate enough to have survived, and I'd love to tell you how we do it. Most importantly, how we'd avoid some of the pitfalls if we could see them coming, and basically dump my brain out. So if you like learning about businesses, especially about a meal plan company, that's what we're here for. And my business partner Steven's going to be joining me in some of these videos. Again, like, subscribe, hit the alerts, and let us know what else you'd like us to discuss. We're fully transparent. If there's anything that you want to see or want us to go more in depth in, please let me know. But without further ado, customer service with just $500. Now, in the beginning, you are the customer service, right? You only got $500, so that's not much of a budget to hire a customer service team. This is a good thing though. This is going to give you a very intimate knowledge with a lot of problems that arise. You'll get a great rapport and relationship with your customers. So starting with you, how are we going to make it so that you're as effective as possible to be the customer service agent? I need to start with you so you know what expectations to have of your customer service staff, and you can lead by example. You can get on the phone, as I love to do, or I'll BCC our guys with emails just to give them an example of how I would handle situations so they're constantly learning. So starting with you, so we can set the right expectations not only for yourself, your customers, but also your future employees, I would suggest getting on some Eckhart Tolle or some kind of ego controlling and awareness education. Eckhart Tolle, I would recommend wholeheartedly. I would start with The Power of Now. I'll maybe try to put a link in the bottom if I could remember, but you can find him very easily. I suggest getting him on Audible. Very, very knowledgeable dude. I don't really want to describe it in any way because I think it gives you the wrong impression, but very, very good knowledge when it comes down to recognizing ego, not only in yourself, but also in other people. And when you're able to recognize it, it helps you kind of slow things down. If you've ever learned a very fast-paced sport or boxing or a martial art, there's a certain point where things start to slow down and you're able to like they talk about baseball players being able to see the stitching on the ball when it's coming up for the hit. Boxers, when it starts really clicking, it's almost like punches from your trainer. Just one day it seems like they start coming slower, and it's just because you've got down that rhythm. You're able to kind of see what's coming. So when you're able to recognize it in yourself and in others, it allows you to stay present for the customer service experience, and that's something that is essential. But before we get into that, let's start with the foundation. Let's talk software. Now, I know I discussed software in another episode, and I have plans on doing some Zapier videos and some CRM walkthroughs, so take a look for those because they may already be out and done. But we're going to start with the CRM. What is a CRM? Or client relationship manager, a database where you store all of your customers' information, their name, their contact information, notes about them, now related specifically to, and this is integral with any business, you're going to need a CRM. I don't care if you're selling tires. You're going to want to be able to reach out to your customers afterwards, beforehand, chase them down. This is good for, working leads, retention on existing members, follow up with people you've lost, all these things. You want to store this all in one easy to access, easy to search database, and that's your CRM. Now, a true CRM should have marketing capabilities where you can at least set up some email. Some of them will allow you to text and communicate other ways, but there should be a way to communicate through the CRM. Otherwise, in my definition, that wouldn't be a real CRM. It's just a client database. If you're able to manage the relationship and the engagement and communicate through that and record all the notes and all the interactions and everything, that's what a CRM is. So, how would you set up your CRM? I'll do some walkthroughs on that. I don't want to get into specifics, but you're going to be dealing with fields or properties depending on the terminology, but it's basically different data fields where you're collecting, address, name, all that other pertinent information, as well as notes. You're going to want to know about the client when you talk to them. Let's say you're starting off with a lead. A lead would go into the CRM. You're able to follow up with it. You're able to schedule. If you have to call them a few times, to get them on the phone and eventually tell them about your program and get them signed up, you're going to want a system that helps you keep track of everybody and where they are and when they need to be contacted, when they were last contacted, what's happened before. So in the beginning of the relationship, it's integral. Throughout the entire relationship, it's integral. When you lose them, it's a really good thing because you're able to not only reach out to them again, maybe get some feedback that you can learn from, but also keeps all the stats. I'm assuming at this point I've convinced you that you need a CRM no matter how big or small you are. Now, you might not be thinking that CRMs are affordable. Some are very expensive, but you don't need to start with all the bells and whistles. If you're starting off with $500, I've got some there's a lot of free CRMs, and I can recommend a few, and I will in this video. And I'll tell you ones we've used with firsthand knowledge of. Now, as I've mentioned in one of the first videos that you may not have seen, I am very good at finding either a free version of a software or figuring out a way to, I don't want to say hack, but squeeze a little bit more out of any version of software that you are able to get. So when it comes to a CRM, I can recommend two because we've used two. The first one we didn't start off with, but this was the last CRM that we were with. It's called Insightly. Insightly is spelled I-N, just like unsightly, instead of an I, so it's I-N-S-I-G-H-T-L-Y. And we love Insightly. They've evolved and they offer a lot more things than when we first started. There's a free version, that's what we first started with, and I believe at the time, unless they've changed it, it was free for the first 3 logins, so you could have one company profile with 3 different people logging in and you'd have free access. It did have some limitations on some of the features as far as like custom fields and things like that, but when you're first starting off, you could probably make it work if you have to. If not, if you really need to customize some of your fields, and if you have any questions on CRMs or Zapier or any of the other things that we discussed in this video or other videos, feel free to reach out. I'd love to walk you through it or help you out in any way that I can, because I know for a lot of people, they don't have a background in CRMs and tech and software and things like that. So I love sharing my knowledge because that's something that I have a big interest in, so I'm always trying to learn these other things. But anyway, if you wanted to use the paid version of Insightly, I believe it starts off at like $25, and it's very affordable. But again, there is a free version. I'm sure the paid version probably unlocks, like I said, the customizable features and probably some more rewards. We have recently, in the last few months, transitioned off of Insightly. We did it for a few reasons, but if I hadn't found HubSpot, I wouldn't be terrified, or there's just some extra things that I found in HubSpot. Now, when it comes to HubSpot, as much as I liked Insightly, and we were with them for years, HubSpot is pretty amazing. They've got a lot more features. Now, those features do come with a significant price. They do get very expensive, but what's beautiful about HubSpot is there's a lot of integrations with these other platforms. They have all these unlockable packages, and they have different tiers on each of those packages, so it does get very expensive. But compared to other things like Salesforce and a lot of other programs out there, the features to the price is still, I still think it's a pretty amazing value. So the free version of HubSpot, and yes, there is a free version of HubSpot, still has a lot of really cool features. I believe it does let you automate a good deal of things, but the great thing is it's not too expensive when you want to start getting into the packages. Now, when it comes down to the limitations that you face with these CRMs, especially when it comes down to automating, you can't see this whole room, but there's not a lot of desks in this room, yet we're able to manage hundreds and hundreds of active members ordering each week out of this room with this many people. And we've got a handful of people. Only 2 of them regularly get on the phone. Why is that? Because I've automated so much using CRMs and different programs. It allows these guys, they've got so much leverage through the software that they're able to do a lot of stuff and be very attentive without it taking a lot of their time. For instance, through a program called Zapier, and that is Zapier, how do I describe it? You've got software over here and software over here. Wish they could talk to each other. Zapier allows that to happen. It has to be an approved, not an approved, but an integration with, but they have a lot. HubSpot and Insightly definitely have some great utilities in there. So what you can do, for instance, is let's say you have a MailChimp account. Okay, MailChimp, if you're not familiar, it's for sending out email campaigns. So MailChimp will send out your email if people are subscribed to a list. You can set up an automated feature in MailChimp. HubSpot could, that'll store all of your dispositions and all the data and everything. So let's say you want a certain email to go out when someone orders your food for the first week. Let's say it's a follow-up email. They just had their first week of food. You want to follow up and make sure their initial experience with customer service or sales or whatever was great. So you want to make it so that when their disposition, whatever way you want to describe this, in the CRM says this person's on their first week, when that field says this person's on the first week, you can have it so Zapier is constantly reading that field, waiting for it to say first week, and when that happens, it'll automatically send out this email. It will take that person's name, email, whatever information that you want, and fill that out into a template, and we can get into that in other videos. But just to give you an idea of how you can leverage these CRMs to not only store the information and keep record of everything, but it could also automatically send out an email, send out a text, schedule an appointment, schedule a task, schedule a follow-up. A lot of really cool stuff can be done, but it all starts with being on a CRM. So again, we'll go into Zapier in depth in other videos. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But without making this too long, the most important thing, now that we've got the CRM set up, the most important thing is how you handle your customers. You're inevitably, your business is going to be run by humans. Things may be cooked wrong, delivered wrong. Someone may have said the wrong thing in an email or on the phone. And at some point, you're going to be dealing with a negative customer experience. How you deal with that is an amazing opportunity. My philosophy is if our service is flawless from day one for 5 years, you're eventually just going to expect it to be there. You're not going to be amazed by it. You're not going to appreciate it anymore. But if there's a mistake, you show up on people's radar. They're looking at you now. You just messed up. If you recover in an impressive way from that mistake, you can actually earn more points with them in the front of their mind than someone who just sees you show up every single day flawlessly and the food's good, but they're just used to it because that's just how it's always been. They never see you really come to the front of their brain and get under that microscope and then perform and really impress them. So look at negative customer service experiences as potentials for very positive customer service experiences that could win you a lifelong client. How are you going to do that? Well, I've got some basic fundamental bullets that you want to hit, and I really try to drill it into our team here whenever I have the opportunity, because you have to remember, and think of who you're dealing with. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle helped me understand and really get a good concept of the ego, and another thing he describes as the pain body, but I won't go into that vocabulary because that's for him to describe, but the ego. The way Eckhart Tolle has helped me conceptualize the ego for a great visual. Ron English, Baby Hulk. And look that up in Google Images. You'll see basically Hulk with a baby, like a sad baby head. And that's what I now envision the ego to be. So the ego, think of it as a separate being that is within everybody. It's not true to who they really are, but it's like this kind of dumb reptilian part of our brain that's just very reactive and very defensive. So the ego of your client, when they pay for something and it's not what they expected, gets inflamed. And they might be pissed off from some other issue. It might have just been, your food is just the straw that broke the camel's back. So let's say the food showed up late, or you put the wrong meal in there, and they're gonna be, how dare you, yada, yada, yada. You got this ego inflamed, and it might not be obvious at first, but either way, it's always important to address it this way. Start off with an apology. Immediately apologize, even if you think it might be something they did wrong. Even like, let's say it's the wrong meal, but you're like, I'm pretty sure you ordered the wrong meal, until you are 100% certain. And even afterward, even if you are 100% certain, just apologize initially, because it'll diffuse them, and it doesn't give their ego anything to hit against. When you apologize, the ego's like, okay, well, that's kind of what I wanted, so I'm not going to get further riled up. But when you stop taking blame, or when you don't take any of the blame, their ego might get a little bit more triggered. So again, jump on it right away. Just apologize, suck it up. The next thing you're going to want to do is relate to them. You're going to want to empathize. You're going to want to tell them, start with the apology. I am so sorry that we sent you the wrong meal. Embellish a little bit when you empathize with them. We probably ruined your Monday. I'm sure this ruined your Monday. I'm sure this is a horrible way to start your Monday. You and I know it's just they're missing a muffin. They got a brownie instead of a muffin. It might be something small and trivial, but if you blow it up and their ego sees you blow it up even beyond what they were looking at, they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, that is a little exaggerated. Okay, they get the point. But if you try to make light of it, the ego may be insulted by that, and again, you're gonna risk triggering it. After we've apologized, you want to show, part of this is like they were trusting you to do this, and now they don't know if they can trust you. And it seems a bit hyperbolic, I know. But again, we're dealing with this inflated, very exaggerated version of a person. So explain what went wrong, not as an excuse. Don't make it be very, very careful to put the blame. Try to make it we are sorry. Even if it was the delivery driver who messed up, or the packer, it's not somebody else's fault. Take the blame. We're very sorry, whatever else. Explain how it happened. Whatever the situation was, explain it. That shows that you know enough about your business, that you're competent to understand what went wrong. And that gives me more confidence to believe the next line, which is, now you have to describe what you're going to do to make sure this never happens to me again, because I'm this angry ego and I'm ferocious. I'm going to smash shit. I'm going to do shit that, I'm going to do and say things that I might not be able to take back. But at the time, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking, I'm hurt. I don't deserve this. You wronged me. You're to blame. You have to make this right. And if you don't, and if you show me any sign or any hint that you're not taking full blame of this, I'm going to feel even more outraged, and it's going to be a mess. So again, just to sum it up, apologize, empathize, explain what happened. Don't use it as an excuse. Tell me what you're going to do to make sure this never happens to me. Then you're going to want to thank me. Thank me for being patient. And don't say it in a sarcastic way. What do I get out of this? You've got to give me something. a refund? Am I getting a credit? Give me something to make me feel better about this, because especially when the ego's involved and it's a monetary thing, people are very sensitive when it comes to money. If you overcharge somebody, it's a big issue. If people feel like they paid for something and it didn't meet their expectations, it's a big issue. So this being a service industry, this being a product that's going to be a long-term relationship, being oversensitive to your client and investing in the long term is always going to benefit you. And short-term cost can be a long-term payoff, especially if there's someone who's so impressed by the way that you handled it, and they might even have a little cathartic self-reflection. We've had instances where people actually call back and apologize, and then they feel indebted to us, so they of course refer members, and then their friends who are being referred to us know how hard it is to appease that person, so they're even more credible when they give that referral, as opposed to somebody who just loves everything. No one's going to believe them. We're like, oh yeah, try these guys. If you have someone who's self-proclaimed foodie or difficult to deal with or picky or any of those, their friends know that they're difficult to deal with. They know that they're a foodie. They know that they're picky. They've been to restaurants with them. So if they recommend a restaurant or a food service, and they especially mention the customer service in the way they recovered, you'll have another member for life. Whoa, that's kind of weird and dark. Oh, there you are. I wanted to take some time away from packing before I go on a delivery route tonight, because I'm jumping in to help out the team. It's fun to do every once in a while. Stole some time away just to make a little video to thank you for watching the last video. It means a lot every time I see the views go up, and my business partner Steven and I are looking to create a community of not only meal plan owners, but also other entrepreneurs who just want to share ideas, share stories, maybe be each other's therapists from time to time, and just sharing this whole experience that we're having here. So be sure to subscribe, hit the alerts, comment, let us know if you have any questions, any critiques, anything that you want to see us cover, any other topics. Check out the links in the show notes. I've got some cool stuff for you I think you want to check out. And check out the other videos. Reach out. Say what's up. Hit me up. Rock on.